Hi all, thank you for joining me on my channel. Today I'm going to be working on the rear spark plug and the reignition coils of this Toyota Alphard V-Liter 3.6. Now it's the 2003 pre-facelift edition, so the original one. And this is really important because with the later Alphards where they've been facelifted, you will not be able to do this. So just to show you the position of the spark plug coils here, ignition coils over here, there's 3 of them here, and at the back of this are 3. Now over here you can see that these are the Romano ignition injectors there, the injectors there. So those are something completely different altogether, so ignore all that. We're going to be looking at these 3 spark plug coils here at the rear. Okay, so the first thing to know is this is a 10mm socket, 10mm bolt, so you can get a socket onto that. I've gone for the hex ones as opposed to 12 points. They're just to stop this rounding off at any point. So we're going to remove those and we're going to clip this off as well. Now clipping this off, you'll need to get a good feeling as to how much pressure you have to apply here, because you're going to need to do that at the rear of the engine, and that's going to be very, very difficult. You're going to apply a good amount of pressure in order to release that, and then you're going to have to apply a good amount of pull as well. And you can see how much pull I'm actually putting on there, and you can see my nail going white just with the pressure. Now this means you can actually, with the front you can use a little screwdriver here and that will lift it off, but at the back you're going to need to apply a lot of force down and brute force to take it out. Okay, so make sure you've got the power in your hands to actually do that, and a good test to actually restrict yourself space wise. Now that will clip back on. So as I said, 10mm socket on that to remove it. This coil comes out, this coil comes out, ignition coil comes out to reveal the spark plug in the spark plug well down there. Now removal of that, you've got a number of different choices. We do know it's a 16mm socket you're going to be using, and you can use this one, which is quite a nice one. It's just from Half, it's about £7 or so, and that just, as you can see, I'm just going to go through it slowly. 16mm, and it has a rubber bit in there which grips onto the spark plug. Now I like this because it's very easy to use, and it's got a degree of flexibility which allows the spark plug to find its way back in to avoid the cross-threading episodes that you might get. That can be used at the front, it can't be used at the back, and the reason for that is because of the reduced access altogether, because we're going to do this without removing the covers here, the manifold covers. So all this stuff is staying on, here. Okay, now that means less interference with the gasket, and also a lot less time as well taking that apart. Okay, now in order to do that, you're going to have to remove the battery completely from the unit, and again that's 10mm screws to remove the terminals and lifting it out altogether. Pop that aside, and then you'll have to remove the box as well, which again is 10mm sockets. Again, inside the box, unclip the air filter and remove the air filter out. And when you're at there as well, you want to disconnect the MAF as well, because you'll need the MAF out as well. And that allows you to clean that as well. There's a separate video on this channel as well. Now over here, this little I think it's called the resonance box, comes off. It's got a 10mm bolt as well running straight through there with a washer on. That needs to come off, and also the tubing associated with it as well, which you'll see here, that disconnects as well. So you're also disconnecting this tubing here too, and also off the box as well, off the resonance box there. I think it's called a resonance box, I'm not too sure. You're then removing all the hosing as well, leading to the back. Now I've left the throttle body on, but you can remove the throttle body to gain some more access. I was almost tempted to remove this section here as well, just beyond the throttle body as well, but I wasn't sure if this is a gasket which I would need to get, or whether it was a liquid gasket on there, neither of which I actually had to hand. I want to try and keep this as simple as possible. So the access is really tight underneath there, and you have to feel around, and you're feeling around for this these wrapped up kind of protection for these ignition coils, and you can feel them, and then you'll come to this. When you get to there, you want to just feel around and look for this kind of like sensation. From there is your bolt. So that's when you move your 10mm bolt. In order to gain access to that 10mm bolt, you will need to get yourself a ratchet. I've got the word from anyway. You're going to get one of those, and the one I've used is a 1/4mm over here. So this again gives you enough torque to remove that quite nicely. I've also got this tiny little mini one, which I purchased a while back. Okay, so this is actually quite useful for really tight spaces. You can guarantee that if you're using something which has got a 1/4 inch, it's not a lot of torque going onto it. Or the other thing which I actually keep as well is this extendable magnet. It's quite a powerful magnet because there's a good chance you may drop somewhere in the back, and you can access it and recover it with this magnet. Also, luckily enough, if you drop something down in that area, there's also a good chance it's going to fall underneath the vehicle. So if you do drop the ratchet, then there's a very good chance and that will actually fall under the vehicle as well. So looking at now, you've taken out the bolt, which is fairly straightforward. As I say, get your finger on it. The last few threads, unthread it with your hand. Now, when you're doing the spark plug, you'll need a spark plug, one of these things here, which is not very good, not very well focused. Let me try and get into focus. Okay, well, you can get the idea of it, and it's got the rubber bit on there too. Okay, so again, I'm doing this one hand, so I do apologize. Okay, there we go. So you can see it's 10mm, it says in this one, which is quite different from the other one. We said 16mm for these sockets. It's saying 10, so that's what you're going to be using. And again, I've gone for the 6-point on it. And you want to get this attached onto. Now these come with the 3/8 inch. I think it's 3/8. Yep, 3/8. And you can see the 3/8 bar on that. And then I've dropped it down to the 1/4 inch. I've used a couple of 1/4 inches, small ones, 1, 2, 3 of them. Okay, now the reason for that is because when you're at the back and you drop this into the well, you're locating it, you're pushing on, you're unscrewing it, and now you're going to find the top of the space will start that you had to maneuver decreases as it lifts up out of the well. So at some point, when it's disconnected completely, you're going to have to remove your ratchet by disconnecting and pressing it at the back to make it easier to come off. So you're pressing there to make it easy to come off, and then you're going to start taking off these little components here. Okay, 1, 2, 3 of them, so that you've got just 1, 2 of them. So you've just got these 2 components in there, and then ease it through. As you ease it through, you can get more space by removing this one here whilst retaining onto that, and that will allow the spark plug to come out with your spark plug socket as well. Okay, now that's going to go in, that's going to work quite nicely. The problems you'll find is that sometimes you get the rubber point retaining onto the spark plug, and you have to go back in again, but that allows you to get out. Now I've done this on the coil, which is directly behind this at the back. I didn't do any of the other ones because I just needed to get to that one just to see what the problem was and identify the problem. And the problem does require me to take the manifold off. We do need to replace the seals at the back, but it's definitely worthwhile something if you're doing your spark plugs at the back and you have the manifold cover off, then it's worthwhile doing the seals, I think. This car's now done about 190,000 on the clock, so that's about 150,000 UK miles, and so therefore, yeah, you know, if you want an easy life, while you're there, change the seals and the spark plugs.
And if you ever have to open it again, change your rear spark plugs every time. Keep the old ones for the front if they've still got life in them, because they're easier to get hold of. I hope that video helps, but as I said, this can be done. It just requires hands. My hands are quite big, as you can see, but you've got to have that the dexterity in your fingers to actually do that, and a bit of power as well also helps. If you've got small childlike hands with no power in them, then although you're able to get in there, you're going to need a little bit of strength to actually remove this, but it can be done without removing the manifold covers. And I'm going to thank Paul McKieran from UACO Cars, where I bought the car from, for his continued support and help in actually making the giving me the advice that this could be done. Prior to that, I didn't think it could be done. Thank you so much for watching the video. Do subscribe.